What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Stand Your Ground. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Stand Your Ground. Same show, different area. We are joined this week by one half of the members of the Mighty Whites podcast. It's Casey.
Hello.
And we are joined by a returning Brad Carrot.
Brad Carrot. Hello.
Well, it's not wrong.
You said it.
Unfortunately, we're going to start this podcast on a bit of a sad note. Two major passings in football over the past week. And we'll start with the latter. At 42 years old, former... It's going to pop up. Yeah, professional as always. 42 years old, former West Ham, Birmingham central defensive midfielder, Bouba Diop, sadly passed away. I think he's probably in the category of one of those underrated centre midfielders. He got nominated for a Ballon d'Or in 2002 for winning the African Cup of Nations with Senegal and getting them. I think they got them to the quarterfinals in the World Cup. Can't think that's as far as what they got, but truly one of those players that maybe never got the credit that he fully deserved.
He does have one of the best nicknames in football, I do think, of the wardrobe, just because of his absolute size. But yeah, just very good midfielder. Played a huge part for Senegal in the 2002 World Cup. I think he got 3 goals during that. Got himself a move over to England as FA Cup winner with Portsmouth as well. So he's someone who's had a very distinguished career, has to be said.
Brad, anything to add?
No, I can't say I remember him really. I'm just reading up on him, but it's always sad to see someone die that young, especially when they've graced the game as good as he was. It's always a sad thing to see happen.
And then another tragic footballing passing, and one that, although his ability on the field was immense, he was also quite a troubled character behind the scenes and probably on the pitch as well. His life kind of got portrayed in front of his eyes for everybody to see, kind of a bit of his meltdown. The Argentinian legend, Diego Maradona, passed away at age 60 after a cardiac arrest. One of these things where I think November, the whole month of November, he didn't have a very good run. I think he ended up in hospital. He needed surgery, and then a week after the surgery is when the heart attack took place. But again, one of the world's greatest players, and I think he was named joint best player of the century with Pelé in the 2000s.
Yeah, absolutely outstanding player. Changed the game. Absolutely changed the game. But yeah, like I said, he was one of these players who just had everything on show. Everything he did off and on the pitch, you just always knew what he was doing, and even if that were good or bad, you just knew it was coming. You just knew about it.
One of those absolutely iconic players. One of the most iconic players he'll ever be, just from the simple things of, I loved during the '86 World Cup when Argentina did their squad, instead of awarding numbers to players, the numbers were done in alphabetical order, apart from Diego Maradona, who was number 10. Kind of a nod to his importance in all of this. Obviously, as an Englishman, there's always a little bit of me in there that thinks that cheating little Argentinian bastard. But as you get older, you do look at the clip more of the hand of God and think, how is it that Peter Shilton just can't jump that high? Man's a goalkeeper. like he seems to get about 2 inches off the ground, and Maradona seems to be about his feet could be about on Shilton's shoulders where he reaches it. But no, absolutely outstanding footballer. So someone who you could, even now, his skill and ball mastery would hold up with the best of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the fitting tribute to that is Messi's goal celebration from this weekend. He scores and then goes and puts on the iconic New Boys jersey with Maradona 10. Basically, it looks like a recreation of his goal. If you put the goals side by side, Diego Maradona's debut goal and then that goal, it's like the same finish. It's ridiculous. As if Messi just knew he was going to go onto that pitch and go, yeah, I'm going to score that goal today.
No, Messi's that good that he will like, yeah, I'll score like this today.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's in that caliber of player. He could just go, all right, this is how I am going to score today.
Not if, not when, just, yeah, I'll do it like this today.
Yeah, but it's a sad sight to see him pass away, especially after all the troubles that he did go through and how he graced the footballing pitch. And we do pass our condolences on to both players, family and friends that may be grieving at this point in time. But off the back of that, we might as well jump into game roundups. Premier League, I mean, it never fails to amaze me, whether it be bad referee decisions, VAR, managerial interviews after games. The Premier League is always full of action and it's always in the media for some reason or another. And I mean, we'll get into a few of these later on, but we'll start with the first game, which was on the Friday. Palace 0, Newcastle 2. This looked like it was going to be a boring 0-0 draw until Callum Wilson and Joelinton popped up in the 88th and 89th minute, respectively.
Kicking teeth.
Palace, again, another one of those teams, you never know what they're going to be like when until they turn up on the day. Missing Wilfried Zaha a lot, though. They just lack creativity when he's not on the pitch.
Just a boring side to watch, really. I might be sounding like a bit of Leeds fan, but they're just set up to not get beat, and it's always a good sight when they do get beat, when you end up playing like
that. Continue on the theme of bitter Leeds fan. I can honestly say I've never been a huge fan of Andros Townsend, and he seems to be at a level where especially if Zaha's not there, there's going to be a lot of emphasis put on someone like him. Yeah. You've got Izzy there who is, I think, in the next couple of years will be a very good player, but it's probably not someone you want to be putting in that position at the moment. So yeah, without Zaha, like you say, it's a massive creativity void that they have.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think Newcastle as well, although they lack creativity themselves, they don't have, I don't think, other than maybe Alan Saint-Maximin, they don't really have a player in their squad that could carry them up the field the way Saint-Maximin does. But Callum Wilson is a proven goal scorer, so they need to find that second man that's going to be able to create the chances. And maybe Newcastle might find a run of form, but again, with a manager like Steve Bruce, you're always going to fail with that creative side of the game.
Yeah. I think the main saving grace to Newcastle is that they now have a striker like Callum Wilson who, if he gets that half chance in what could be one of the few chances they get in a game, that you'd probably back him to score, which is definitely what they needed after last season. Now, whether he can get enough service throughout the season for them to be safe and comfortable in mid-table, I think you kind of got to wait till after Christmas and see where they're standing. But it's not. It's just not pretty to watch, is it?
Can't say I've watched a lot of Newcastle, but Callum Wilson's just one of them players who, when he got signed by Newcastle, you just think, oh, what a good piece of business. I think a lot of teams in the Premier League, including Leeds, to be honest with you, who think that he could have fit straight in. Like you say, it's just one of them. If he gets the chance, he'll probably score it. It's just, it always surprised me that he never moved on for Bournemouth to like a slightly better side, almost like Danny Ings really at Southampton. surprised me that he's still at a side like that.
It always surprised me that.
Yeah. In all honesty, I think a lot of people also looked at Ryan Fraser that they picked up on a free transfer and expected him to be a big integral part of Newcastle's season this season. And for whatever reason, he's not starting, or he's just coming off the bench for a 30-minute cameo or something. I don't know what's happened to Ryan Fraser, whether it's confidence, whether he's not asked about playing. He's got his move and he's happy with that. But we kind of saw it to the back end of his Bournemouth career that he was more happy sitting on the bench and making a bit of money rather than being out on the pitch.
Yeah, it's always awful when you get a player who's got that mentality of I'm gonna sit on bench. You're gonna play me. You're gonna pay me week in, week out, no matter what. And it's always you just think it's just an absolute waste of talent and waste of resources from a club which might do something if they didn't have you. But he's a good player. But if you don't get the best out of him, they don't get the best out of him.
No. Next game, Brighton versus Liverpool. Early kick-off on the Saturday. 1-1 draw, but this could have been so much more for both sides. Neil Maupay misses a penalty and then subsequently ends up injured after taking the penalty and comes off. Mohamed Salah has a goal ruled out before Diego Jota scores in the second half. Then Mane has a goal ruled out for a header. I think he were offside by like his big toe. And then you end up with another penalty, which Pascal Gross finishes. This game kind of highlights how many people that Liverpool are actually missing. Like, I thought they were missing more than what they were, but defensively, they were all over the shop.
Yeah, I thought they were going to struggle a lot more against Leicester last week than they did, and obviously they put in a great performance. But yeah, I think it's going to catch up to them. Andy Robertson is a good player, but I always felt that he lacked it at the defensive side. Very good creative, same with Alexander Arnold, but when they don't have that keystone in centre defence, you can see the cracks. You can just see that it's there. Well, without Van Dijk in there, you can just see too many cracks, and they're going to start leaking points probably towards it. Well, now.
I was going to say if they're leaking points towards the end of the season, they'll be in trouble. Yeah, I'm always happy to see James Milner back in any team. But yeah, like you say, defensively, it's a strange one though, because obviously even before Van Dijk's injury, that didn't look convincing defensively. And I know Klopp said after Van Dijk got injured that they're not going to look to sign a central defender, but I do wonder if the performances this season are going to kind of prompt him to rethink that strategy. Because I do think they need someone in there who whether they can get someone in on loan for the rest of the season. Maybe sign Diego, get Llorente offers to get him some match fitness for next season. I don't know, but I think in the next month, if this sort of pattern keeps continuing for Liverpool, that they do need to look into bringing someone in.
Well, I think the list of players that came out that were central defenders that could be signed on a free transfer were ridiculous. That were coming in for January. They could get people like Ezekiel Garay, who played Champions League football with Valencia. I know he's on the back end of his career, but he's still a top class defender to bring in at that age, even if it's only for like a 6-month contract, just until Van Dijk and Joe Gomez are back. But they are in dire straits, and it's kind of the same way that Man United were in dire straits, where we had one player that we fixed our team around for so long, and now they've disappeared. No, we still are. But it's the same. Yeah, we'll get onto that. We fixed our team around one player, maybe even to an extent where you can see like Real Madrid now.
Is that player the referee giving you penalties?
It's Howard. It's Howard Webb. We struggled after losing such a key player, and then now Liverpool are struggling so defensively without Van Dijk. Even if Joe Gomez was fit, I think they'd still be struggling because he's not defensively as good as what Matip is himself. He's just got a bit of pace behind But the major talking point from this game afterwards, Jurgen Klopp's post-match interview. This put him in a bad light, and I completely agree with what he was trying to say, but the way that he came across in this interview was horrible.
I think he's getting to end of his string now, and like he's pushing for this 5 subs. If you agree with it or not, and obviously Chris Wilder's against it, which I don't know why he would be, but I think it's more the quality off the bench. It wouldn't actually help him.
Sheffield United don't have 5 players to bring on.
Yeah, I think it's.
Well, that's the big thing with this subs rule is that in the Premier League, more than any other division in this country, the way the gap between the team with the highest wage budget and the lowest budget is, it's an absolute chasm. So I'm fully on board with the idea of sticking with the 3 subs, because you look at Manchester City and the quality of players they can have on the bench, as opposed to Sheffield United have got on the bench, as opposed to West Brom have got on the bench. My issue with all these managers wanting 5 subs are, well, why are you they're still playing the same players game in and game out. There's not squad rotation going on. Like, if it's that much of a concern, then you've got to rest these players. Like, if that's, or either or you're thinking is, well, I'm just going to play my full strength team every game that I can until someone gets injured, and then the next one takes its place.
Basically, Liverpool did.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate that you look at the number of injuries they've got and kind of the circumstances around a couple of them as well. But there is squad rotation, and if you're that concerned about it, that's something you need to look to implement more.
Yeah, I don't fully agree with the 5 subs. I understand where it's coming from, but like you say, I know the managers are saying it's not to do with being able to bring 5 players on and change game up. It's more the option to, and that teams are using 3 subs now, so 5s won't change it. But if you give someone like Pep Guardiola the chance to bring on off the bench some of their players, even all their players off the bench, them players they'd get into any side in the top half at table. They'd start in any other side except for Man City. So saying it's not fair, or it's saying it's fair, I just don't think it is.
You look at the back end of last season, while we still had the 5 subs rule, when were teams making the extra subs? It was typically when they were 3-0 up and the game's already gone. Like you say, that there are still teams now who aren't using the 3 subs, or if you're a madman like Bielsa, even at 0-0, you just go, no, I'll leave it. It'll be fine. I don't need to bring Rodrigo on after an hour.
Yeah.
We'll come on to Bielsa and his tactics in a minute, but Brad touched on Man City, and we might as well talk about them next. 5-0 absolute battering with Burnley, and it could have been a lot more. Someone that I picked out last week for having a bad game, Riyad Mahrez, decides to step up and net a hat-trick this week. Shut me up. But to be honest, Burnley just looked everywhere at the back. Missed Nick Pope in goal. I know you two will probably have a bit of a soft spot for Bailey Peacock-Farrell, but he just did not. He just didn't look. He just didn't look.
He wasn't good enough for Leeds, so he somehow failed upwards into the Premier League.
Yeah, that were a good signing by Peacock-Farrell, to be honest with you. I don't know how he did it, but he did it.
He's an Irish international.
That means nothing.
I mean, I did think his own goal was fantastic, and I'm a little bit gutted that was ruled out at the end to spin onto your own save and tap it in.
You could see as that ball trickled over the line, his head hit the ground. Just
Yeah, like I said, Mahrez absolutely lit that pitch up, loading it. Watching, I couldn't catch it live, but watching highlights, Jesus, it just looked miles the best player on that pitch. Just looked like he was going to score an hat-trick from first couple of touches, since his first goal went in. Absolutely lightning.
Yeah, this is coming from a Man City side where I think a lot of people have turned around and said, "Oh, they've been missing a central striker, and they've had most of the goals come from the wings from people like Mahrez, Sterling, Foden playing in at camp." I mean, they got goals from all the way around the pitch, and even if they are missing a Premier League, like a top Premier League striker like Aguero or Jesus that's firing on all cylinders, they're still going to be able to score, and this game proved it.
Yeah. These performances were always going to come from Man City. It was more when it was going to happen. But a lot of people are saying that they're missing striker, and I think they did, especially against when they played Leeds. They missed that central force, and I think they would have got a few against us if not. But I think they're missing David Silva. I think he was so crucial to them over the last 6 years and De Bruyne has just come back from an injury. He's just not pulling strings. I think he'll start to get back into it, but he's not pulling strings as much as he has been. And David Silva hasn't been picking it up the slack as well. I think that loss has gone unnoticed, I think.
I've just looked to last season because I vaguely remember after the restart, Burnley getting battered by Man City, and they did lose 5-0 to them at the end of last season as well, with 2 for Foden, 2 for Mahrez, and David Silva with 1 in there.
Point proven.
So yeah, it's getting to be a bit like a Liverpool against Norwich. You just sort of know there's a battering on its way.
Yeah.
To be fair, Burnley aren't as bad as what Watford were against them, so they've got that to put in the cap. But we'll move on to a game that both of you two you'll love to talk about, because Jamie Carragher couldn't have enough of you during that game, because you were basically in the second half walking around Everton. Leeds 1, Everton 0. Big points to pick up away from home against an Everton side that started this season really well. But question marks have got to be on Jordan Pickford for this goal. How did he not reach that?
Because he's got T-Rex arms. I don't know. I was watching game and I didn't even know where it came from. I just saw it in bottom corner. So it must have just caught him off guard. But
it was funny because Jack actually screenshotted the moment just before Rafinha hits it, and he's already over to that left-hand side. And then I don't know if when he sets it, like I'd have to watch it back. I don't know if when he sets himself, he takes a jump to the right to get ready for it, and then has just put himself all out of position. But he seemed to be in a fairly decent position before the shots hit.
It's a classic Jordan Pickford error, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the one thing most people would say before playing Everton. Like, yeah, they've had a fantastic run at the start of the season. They've got a great attack line, but Pickford's there to be got at. And there was quite a few times in the game he was charging out towards crosses and then changing his mind or not getting near him. Yes, I made 1 or 2 good saves in there as well. But yeah, you can tell his confidence is certainly shaken at this point.
Yeah, very much so. I think that even at start of season when they're on fire, Pickford was still the weak link. They were still leaking goals. And I was sort of quietly confident as a Leeds fan going into this game. Back at Arsenal game, and after the fact that Fulham nearly got back into the game, I just thought, we play with the intensity we play with week in, week out. We'll do 10 times what Fulham can do against them. We're the better side, but for some reason we can't buy a goal. Or it should have been 6-0.
Yeah, it was another strong performance from Rafinha. I thought, he started out absolutely electric, and before he got moved to the left-hand side. And I thought most of what we did well went through him. Click again, another strong performance. Again, should have probably scored with the chance he had. Another one he skied over. The only concern I have at the moment as a Leeds fan is defending set pieces. We seem to be struggling with, and I'm not entirely sure what that's down to. Whether it's I don't want to jump on the bandwagon that a lot of people have of blaming Liam Cooper, because I honestly, I think someone like him definitely deserves till sort of January to really evaluate how he adapts to this league. There are times he looks like a player that's never played a Premier League or a top flight game in his life. And that's what he is. He's someone who started out at Chesterfield and has played in a fairly poor Leeds team up until recently.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty much all there. But every time there's an in-swinging corner or a free kick that they're curling in for a cross, I do worry.
Yeah. I'm not going to. Well, I'm going to break you up a little bit here. We've got a comment. Dave and AJ, but let the buzz begin. Hottest football show on the World Wide Web. Of course, Stand Your Ground, Emmy Award-winning Stand Your Ground. Might I add?
Did you say Emmy Award-winning?
Emmy Award-winning. We are an award-winning podcast, Aaron.
Was it the M.E. award?
Yeah, no why. Yeah, as much as I want to rave about how good Leeds were and how much Leeds have really shown that they can take to this league, come back from the Championship, because a lot of people did have question marks about how you're going to perform jumping up a league. Arsenal game highlighted it. Every game you've played has basically highlighted it. Maybe the only problem is the attacking football that you play just leaves you very open in behind for counter-attacking football. The one thing that you've got to mention from this Everton side is they really, really missed Luca Digne on that left-hand side. He's going to be a huge miss for them. I think it's ankle ligament injuries that he's got, and he's having to have surgery. So it's at least 3 months he's going to be on the sideline. So Everton have taken a big hit missing Luca Digne.
Yeah, massive loss. Is that both fullbacks out now? Is Seamus Coleman still out as well?
Yeah, Coleman's still out as well. I think his is an ankle injury.
I was speaking to an Everton fan after the game, and he made the excuse that they're missing both fullbacks, and I suppose they were, and it did show a bit, but they still had the full strength attacking lineup. Calvert-Lewin, who's on fire, Rodriguez, who can create anything, and Richarlison back. So they should still have scored more for me, but yeah, they were missing the fullbacks, and it showed a bit.
Yeah. Got another comment. Lewis Paul.
Shut up, Louis.
Weirdly, he's commented it twice, just in case we didn't see it the first time.
That doesn't shock me.
On to the next game, though, and the final game of the Saturday, and probably the most boring game to watch. West Brom versus Sheffield United. 1-0 to West Brom. The stats from this match is absolutely fucking terrible. Between them, they had 38 shots and only 9 on target.
It was diabolical.
That's what Leeds manage in a single game.
Yeah, but just Leeds.
Yeah.
It was diabolical. I thought I'd watch it because I thought, you never know, with it being basically a must take and 3-point game. I thought Sheffield United might have just turned the leaf, but they were so poor in front of goal, both teams, but so poor. It was like watching two Championship sides play football. And effectively next season they probably will be.
You know what highlights this game more than anything is that we're in November and Matheus Pereira's getting yellow carded in the 86th minute for time wasting.
I mean, for me, the only appeal of watching a game like this is the hope that because they have two poor teams, that you might end up getting like a 4-4 draw out of it or something. But no, you've got a Sheffield United team who for love nor money cannot get a goal.
Yeah.
And I said last week we were on here, that they had joint top goal scorers last season, both with 6. It was down to their defence that they finished where they did last season. It wasn't to do with the attack. And now the defence isn't as strong as it was last year with is it O'Connell that's out injured?
Yeah.
And that I think Ollie McBurney is a decent striker, but you won't want to be pinning your hopes on him, and you're only, you've got your creative player is Burke, who again is fine. There's no one in there that would really, as a Sheffield United fan, I can't imagine there's anyone in that team that when they picked up the ball, you'd be thinking like, right, here we go.
Yeah, David McGoldrick.
I think what got me the most is they're playing West Brom, who've just come up, and you think, right, we need to take 3 points away from these, or at least get a draw, at least get another point on board. They played 5-4-1. For me, that just cries out that they just don't want to concede again. But against the side what's not scoring anyway, it just sets up the tone. You can just tell the tone in dressing room or in the club, like, oh, we're gonna get spanked every week because of it. As soon as I saw that lineup, I thought, it's not the football you want to be playing in Premier League. Even if you get beat every week, that's just not the football you want to be playing. Your fans don't want to see that. In the end of the day, you're at bottom table for a reason now, and it's just don't have the quality in the side.
Yeah, the worst start to a Premier League season ever. 9 losses and 1 draw, 10 matches. Spells danger for
I feel so bad because, going back to we played them 3rd game of the season, 4th game of the season, something like that. And I didn't think there was a whole lot in it. Like I thought we were the better team, but again, they were well organised. They had the chances. Meslier made a couple of fantastic saves in that game. And I thought, honestly, like, oh yeah, they'll be fine. They'll get a win and they'll kick on from there. But it hasn't happened so far.
Yeah, it's almost like they needed that first win early in season in the first 3 games to sort of try and start doing something in this league. And because it hadn't come, it's just got worse and worse. And
I'll tell you what, it's a good job fans aren't there, because I bet Bramall Lane wouldn't be a nice place to be on a weekend at the moment.
No.
Bramall Lane's not a nice place to be on the weekend anyway.
Sheffield in general.
It's not like Turf Moor.
But yeah, just before we move into the Sundays, this podcast is brought to you by our friends over at Manscaped. So I'm going to play a quick little promo video and then tell you how you can get yourself 20% off and free delivery. Yeah, that's right, guys. Stand Your Ground is brought to you by our friends over at Manscaped. You can use code SYG2020 for 20% off and free delivery. You can get a nice little Manscaped travel bag here that we've got. They've got tons of stuff. They've got boxes which are made out of the best fucking material. Like, honest to God, it is amazing stuff. And yeah, I mean, you've got moisturize.
Go on, show us.
I ain't got the
Get
box
it out.
Moisturizers, deodorants, toners, trimmers, nail clippers, face care, hair care, whatever you want. If you go onto manscaped.com, check out all the range of products. It'll be great for Christmas presents, New Year's, if you want to treat yourself or if you want to treat a loved one. Make sure you go over to manscaped.com. Use code SYG2020 at checkout for 20% off and free delivery.
I thought there was a good reason you were looking less ugly at the moment.
That's just because you've not seen me in a while. But back to the game roundup, and we'll start back on the first game of the Sunday, a game that I was dreading after the first half. The second half I really enjoyed.
I wonder why.
Southampton 2, Man United 3. And when we went in 2-0 down at half-time, the only thing that I could say was James Ward-Prowse is a bit good, isn't he?
Very. He's really stepped up his game. I think they're missing it, Danny Ings, but yeah, Jared Ward-Prowse. You fancy him after over top of any free kick at the moment.
Yeah, I think after scoring that free kick, that makes him the second in the table for most goals from direct free kicks, only behind David Beckham. I think he's got 12, and David Beckham scored 18 in his career at Man United. So,
all right. Jesus,
there's only 6 behind, and you could see him scoring 6 more free kicks this season.
Yeah, the way they're going in Southampton, yeah.
But this game changed after 2 substitutions. One, David De Gea ended up coming off with an ankle injury. Dean Henderson made his first Premier League start for Man United. First sub appearance for Man United. And then Edison Cavani coming on for Mason Greenwood. We won't talk about what happened after the game because we don't want to ruin it. But he is a clinical goal scorer, and he's just shown it. No matter what his age is, he's there. He puts his head where it hurts, and probably gambles on more balls than what a normal Premier League striker does. He's always trying to get himself in the right position, and it's clear that you've just got to whip the ball in, and Cavani will put it in back of the net.
It annoyed the hell out of me because at the start of the season, when you signed him, I thought, oh, what a panic buy. He's not going to do out. Reminiscent of Falcao, and I thought, here we go. And then I watched it, and I thought, oh, he's a bit good. I think De Gea will be a bit worried now. I think him being out for a couple of weeks, Henderson in, I think that could be the divider at the moment. Keep him outside.
Yeah, with the way De Gea's been sort of the last year or so, if Henderson has a good run and can replicate the form he had at Sheffield United, it'd be a good shout to keep that number 1 shirt.
My worry is now that he liked to switch between Dean Henderson and David De Gea in the Champions League games, and if De Gea is now injured, does that mean Lee Grant's going to play against PSG on Wednesday? Because I don't want Lee Grant facing Kylian Mbappe and Neymar.
I wouldn't want half of that Man United team facing players like that.
Not that Man United side.
We've beaten once this season. But yeah, I think first half I was the same Man United fan as I was last week after beating West Brom 1-0. Fucking pissed off and annoyed that we keep assigning attacking players when clearly it's his defence that's wrong. And then by the second half at the end, I was going, yes, fucking thank God we signed that striker.
Yeah, it shows what happens when you actually sign someone who's quality, like top quality in that central role. It would, like you said, his movement in box, in and out of box, just creating chances, diving past players just to get an head on something which might not even come. Quality, absolute world-class player, and you can see why you signed him. But you can just tell why Greenwood and Rashford it's not good enough up front by themselves.
Yeah, the wide players, and I'm glad that Anthony Martial's out. Anything to add, Casey?
No, honestly, I didn't actually. I've only seen the highlights of this. I didn't get to see. I was at work.
You didn't miss a lot in terms of a Man United performance because other than those 3 goals, I don't think we were great everywhere else on the pitch. Just Cavani just had a masterclass in finishing. But into a game that definitely didn't have a masterclass in finishing. Chelsea 0, Spurs 0. The main headline from this is Spurs' XG in the second half, 0. They didn't register a shot or a shot on target in the second half against Chelsea.
I watched the majority of this, probably the first hour or so of this, while having dinner, and then went to wash up.
Got that far into it.
I know. To be honest, we went to wash up afterwards, and I didn't go back to watch it. And I'm glad I just checked live score, so it's still 0-0.
Washing up with more fun.
You know, obviously we talked about kind of the true masterclass was from Mourinho last week against City when he set up the way they did, and you know they got them on the break and then defended really well. And it's one of the things with that Chelsea team at the moment. Like you look at that attacking lineup and you think you've got to be causing them more problems than that, especially when you've got Joe Rodon, who I think, you know, is a very good young defender, will become a very good defender as he gets more game time. But you'd think he'd be someone to get at in a game like this when you've got, Werner and you got Tammy Abraham up there, but they didn't really do all that much to them. Then and again, I don't know how much you'll be able to disagree with this. After watching Leeds, this game was so slow. You watch how Leeds play, and this game was so slow, so boring.
Yeah,
you'd look at that Chelsea team, that performance, and think, oh man, they need a bit of flair in there, but they have it. It just it just didn't work.
It were a game like the whole season we're pivoting on it, that they just couldn't get beat, and it's 9 games into the season. Like I say, I think Mourinho came out after us and went, it were a game where we were waiting for that one mistake, and none of the teams made out, but there were no attacking prowess in the side. They just wanted the break, but I think both teams did, and like you say, both teams should have caused more problems. Spurs' attacking lineup this season is probably the best we've seen from them in a long time, and Chelsea's is definitely the best we've seen from them in the last couple of years. They should be scoring at least 1 or 2 goals each in that game, but so boring. That's Mourinho, in it. That's his type of player.
He knows how to drag out points, and I think that's what he was hoping for. He was hoping for like an 89-minute Harry Kane pass through to Son to score, but I think they'll take 0-0 and sitting at the top of the table at the end of this weekend. On to the next game, and a game that, although the class on the pitch was fun, it was a fun game to watch. There's one major talking point from it, and I made a separate slide for this. Wolves 2, Arsenal 1, but before any goals were scored, Raul Jimenez ends up with an absolutely horrific injury. Me and Shannon were stood downstairs, and I saw people talking about it, so I went onto Twitter to find the video. And as I heard the noise, like, I almost dropped my phone. It sounded like someone dropped a bowling ball on the floor. It was horrible to listen to. And I wish him a speedy recovery, because a fractured skull it's a career-ending injury. Ryan Mason, I think, that played for Hull, he ended up with a fractured skull playing against Chelsea, and that finished his career. So hopefully we might see Jimenez back on a pitch, but I do hope that he makes a speedy recovery from that clash of heads with David Luiz.
Yeah, I didn't watch the game myself, but I was like you. I saw it all kick off like on chats and stuff that it were going to be a bad injury, and I caught it, but I didn't really listen to it. And they didn't probably rightly so, didn't show any replays or didn't overplay it. So I still don't really know what happened. I know it was David Luiz, but yeah, injury like that, you just hope he gets through it and is healthy on the other side. Never mind him playing again.
I think the worrying thing is it's very concerning from 2 aspects. The first one, as we've talked about with Jimenez's injury and fractured skull. He's on there. He's been given oxygen, and is stretched off the pitch. And like you say, you wish him a speedy recovery, because it's an absolutely horrific injury, and it comes from 2 players honestly just going for the ball. It's a horrific accident. The concerning thing from Arsenal's point of view was the fact that David Luiz was ever allowed back on that pitch. He went off and he's got this cut that they can't stop from bleeding, so they just try and bandage it as much as they can. But as the game's progressing, you can see the blood sort of seeping through it. You've got then the fact that he's a central defender that can't head the ball. But Arsenal come out and said they followed the concussion protocol. If the fact that he's allowed back on the pitch at all is worrying. Yeah, and you've had Troy Deeney on TalkSport today saying that footballers should be able to make their own judgment on stuff like that. And you just think, this is someone with a head injury. Like,
what judgment can he make there?
Exactly. It's this like it's this, and I'm not 100% sure about you, Brad, and where you are as if you're a wrestling fan or not. Me and Alex being wrestling fans as well. One of the big things that's kind of come up in the last couple of years is this idea that you should take away the ability of wrestlers to decide whether a match should continue. That should be down to the officials and doctors to say, right, the match is off, because wrestlers more often than not, if they're given that option, will choose to carry on. And in this case, he should never have been allowed back on the pitch. And Troy Deeney's comments were that he didn't look wobbly on his legs, he didn't collapse or anything. You're like, well, I've had a couple of concussions before, and you're fine. You could be fine for 10, 20 minutes afterwards, even up to an hour later. But, it kicks in, and if he gets hit in the head with a football again, you don't know what sort of damage that can do.
Yeah.
I just went back to have a look and see how long he actually played for afterwards. So Jimenez gets substituted at the 15th minute. David Luiz doesn't come off until after half time. So the 45th minute, so when they go into the dressing room, and they probably do a proper check to see if he's all right, and he stopped running around, and then they've gone, yeah, we should probably bring him off. No, that should have been the first instance. And I know they've talked about it already in the Premier League about bringing in concussion testing intervals so that someone could be subbed off to have a concussion test. And then if they're all right to bring back on, they can go back onto the subs bench and bring them back on if necessary. That needs to be a thing, especially in a situation like this. He had a massive collision. One person's had to be stretchered and taken to hospital because of the same collision. David Luiz should have been taken off the protocol just to be safe.
And that's it. And you see it in other sports where you have the ability to make essentially temporary substitutions. So, Rob Holding could have come on for the time it takes to fully check David Luiz to make sure he's all right to play. I just find that at this stage, when you've got sports like rugby, the NFL have all got much better concussion protocol in place. IFAB and FIFA, the FA are talking about trials and taking place next year, and you're just like, well, why does it have to wait? Like, why even allow things like this to happen again and risk that happening? Like, no, just bring in these changes now.
Yeah, he should have gone off with Jimenez, just for the simple fact you can see how bad that has hurt him. Jimenez. God, that was a hard word to say 3 times fast. He should have been taken off straight away. At least kept off the sideline for a longer period of time. But if I were Arteta and I saw that, I'd have took him off anyway, even if he looked fine when he was back on pitch. Like you say, he's a centre-back, and you've got to think that he's probably going to be involved in most of the headers, collisions, tackles, anything to do with defending, more physical side of the game. A centre-back's probably the most physical position to play in for that reason. And David Luiz isn't the most consistent centre-back as is. So you'd have thought Matt Arteta would have been straight on at whoever he's got on bench to just bring on and just not even risk it.
Yeah.
But, well.
So yeah, and then obviously the 3 goals that took place. One goal from Pedro Neto, which I think he's actually getting a lot better at his finishing. He looked like a decent tricky winger when they first brought him in, but his finishing ability now looks up to par. Then Gabriel with a header from a corner, and it was one of those horrific sights when you saw William then go take another corner, and you were like, "Please don't whip it in, not again." But then Gabriel scores the header from the resulting corner, and then Dominic Podence with all the class in the world to just flick a ball over a sliding defender in their box and then just finish it. I mean, that goal from Podence, I think, was my favourite goal of the weekend, bar the Man United ones, because I just loved the fact that he had the composure to be able to flick it up in the box and get it away from a defender. Because most people, if that's flying in at you, you're just gonna try and dribble with it, and it's gonna stay on the floor and you're gonna be tackled. And he had the class to be able to lift that over the trailing leg. But 3 big points for Wolves, whose season again has been a bit stop-start.
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
Like I say, that third goal was quality. That first touch he has to lift it over defence is. The more you watch it, the more you realise that he sort of meant to do it, and it's sort of that is quality. But that Gabriel goal, that header, that is what you want from your centre backs, isn't it? That is just a powerful header. You just saw it coming. You saw him like wind up, run up, and you think, yeah, here we go. That's what you want from a centre back. Scoring goals like that. That is quality. Just can't score from anywhere else.
I just can't wait to see what this Wolves team do in the European Championships in the summer.
When they replace Jimenez with Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Getting in on loan.
One game that none of us three will have seen much of. I don't know if you watched the first half or if you've seen any of the highlights that have come up so far. Leicester have just lost 2-1 at home to Fulham. Fulham's goal scorers, Adamola Lookman, and then Caballero scored a penalty. Harvey Barnes got a goal back in the 86th minute, but just wasn't enough for the Foxes to try and save themselves and get a draw out of that match. Big 3 points for Fulham. Could be season-altering 3 points for them. It brings them out of the relegation places, only by a point, but I mean, it gained ground on people like Brighton and Palace and Arsenal, who are down at the bottom of that pile at the moment. So there's a long way to go in the season, but maybe Fulham might be trying to dig themselves out here.
Yeah, it's a great win from Fulham. It's just one of them wins where you can see him sort of maybe not go on a run of form where they win 3 or 4 in a row, but potentially start clawing some points back. Just the confidence they'll get from taking a Leicester side who's had a good start to the season as well. Until the last 2 games, you were thinking they were going to challenge up there with Liverpool and Tottenham, and obviously two losses in a row now. But yeah, that's a massive confidence boost for Fulham. That could be, like you said, that could be the 3 points, the point to separate them going down in that bottom 3 this season.
I think if you're a Leicester fan, it must be a little bit frustrating because it's the same story as last season. They put together a good run of form, and then I don't know, it was obviously against a different class of opposition last season, but they had the back-to-back games against Man City and Liverpool and lost both of those, and that pretty much finished them in terms of, well, at that point they were still potentially title contenders. And again, they've had a nice run of form, good few wins, and then lost to Liverpool in a fairly convincing fashion as it goes, and now you lose a game like this where you'd be looking to bounce back. So it must be frustrating.
Yeah. And while we're talking about relegation favourites and things like that, we'll just go on to his final topic, which is who are the favourites to be relegated. And I think obviously you're looking at the bottom 3 that are Sheffield United, Burnley and West Brom at the moment. They don't look anywhere near the standard of the Premier League. Fulham, that have just got themselves out, don't look up to it. Brighton, although they got a draw against Liverpool, still you would class them in that bottom tier category. Maybe even Palace, even though they started the season really well, have faded away. I just kind of want to get the feelers out towards you and anybody who's watching, if you want to comment who you think will be the bottom 3 as well. Who you think the bottom 3 will be at the end of the season?
I've got to agree with Roy Keane, and I do think Arsenal will be safe.
Yeah, I think it's gonna come close though.
No, if there's the 2 different lists. There's my wish list, which would be Man United, Chelsea, and let's put Fulham on there. I could swap Fulham with Villa, either one. Realistically, I think now already, even in 10 games in, you've developed such a gap between Sheffield United and safety. It's got to be concerning for them. and I'm not convinced by West Brom either. Those would be my two favourites to go down, and then, like you say, there's kind of 3 or 4 other teams that you could fancy going down with them.
Yeah, Brad.
Yeah, I'm looking at table, and my favourites to go down are Chef, West Brom, and Fulham. But obviously, this weekend's put a spanner in it works with Fulham on it. A win like that could keep them outside. I've got something in my stomach thinking that Burnley might turn this around. I can't see Sheffield United turning it around. Not with the current manager. I ain't got out against Chris Wilder, but I just don't think he's got the team or the sort of the know-how just to pull him out of that gap there.
Yeah, I think that Sheffield United team, if they could get a more creative fullback in and a more clinical striker in January, then they might do something. But that's what they need. They need someone who's going to lay on more chances and someone who's going to be more reliable to finish them. Yeah,
it's going to be a critical January for him. I don't think it'll be. Obviously, it won't be set for a long time. But if they can have maybe 3-4 good signings in January, maybe they'll get out of it. But the way they've lost 5 in a row, they've only got 1 point this season in 9 games. 1 point, should I say? I can't see him getting out of it. But Burnley really surprised me that they're in that bottom 3. I know they haven't started well, but I can see him sort of clawing out maybe towards back end of January. Maybe start clawing out. I'd love to see Crystal Palace go down, but I'm not bitter. More the fact I don't like the way they play. I don't like any team what will sit back, especially when they're playing teams around them and they think, "Oh, these are 3 points to go in for." They're a team that are just looking to sit in that middle of the table and not do anything. They're not going to challenge for Europe. They're not. They're just going to get scrape relegation. And for me, teams like that, I think they should go down. I think it's not fair on teams who sort of like Norwich last season, who went for it and just didn't have the quality to finish some points off, and they went down. And like us this season, I'm hoping we'll challenge a lot higher than relegation, but we go for every game. We might concede, get goals, but we go for every game. We haven't tried to sit on our laurels or play for a draw. It annoys me. So I'd love to see Palace go down.
That's fair enough. I think I'm very much on the boat of Sheffield United was a one-season wonder, and that they will be relegated this season. I think everybody had them. Every guy and their dog had.
It's 1-0 to West Ham. 2 minutes in.
There's another game tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's West Ham.
This isn't a football show for nothing.
It's West Ham Villa. So there you go.
Massive header from a corner.
On Bonner. Lovely.
Yeah. Completely unchallenged as well. He just jogs in.
I think everybody had Sheffield United to be relegated last season. And I think this season they definitely will. Burnley, I think, will be another team that get relegated. I just don't think they have the quality, and I don't even think they'll spend in January to try and bring anybody in. And I think West Brom. There's a couple of players from West Brom that I really like. I really like Pereira. I think he's a quality little attacking midfielder. Ajayi as well at the back. I think he's a great towering centre back who probably could do well at another Premier League club, maybe at someone like Palace or maybe even Villa. Villa's defence would be great if they had Tyrone Mings and Samuel Ajayi playing at the back. But West Brom overall don't have the depth. I don't think they have the quality to keep themselves up, even after almost scaring Man United at home. I don't think they've got it in them. But I think on that note, after Bonner absolutely powers in a header, we'll end it there for this episode of Stand Your Ground. Before we go, I'm going to play a quick little video of everything that's now over here on whatthebuzz.com.
raise the bar. Told you that I go far. Oh, baby, it's crystal clear. Oh, I'm not a souvenir. Oh, I'm not an accessory. I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now. I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now.
Yeah, so that's the What the Buzz, the new website. So come over and check out WTB.com. That's on Instagram and Twitter and on Facebook as well. If you go, give them a follow, like, and check out all the amazing stuff that's going on onto here. You're going to have shows like RSH, The Boardroom, Between the Pipes, Cage My IQ, Game Winning Drive, and Blitz. They're all coming over as well. This was a test run to see what Stand Your Ground would be like on a Monday, because we don't want to be challenging the Sunday games. And maybe when it gets back to a regular...
So we're challenging the Monday games.
When it gets back to regular football, there will be less Monday games. So maybe we might end up switching to this Monday time slot. We'll see. Depends on what everybody's... how this has gone. It's kind of a test run, but we'll see. Either way, make sure you go and check out WTB.com on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. Also, check out the Mighty Whites pod at Twitter. It's Mighty Whites pod, isn't it, on Twitter?
Yes, probably. Jack does all the shilling for the website and the podcast and everything. So I'm not prepared for this. Yeah, Mighty Whites podcast for all your Leeds United needs and ill-informed opinions.
And you can check out Through It All Together as well, which is a website that both Casey and Jack they write for. I think it's throughitalltogether.sba.nation.com.
It's THRU.
THRU.
That's the one I do remember.
Right. Yeah, you can go check out that as well. There'll be lots of exciting things coming up. This is the first show that's been on What's the Buzz? So, landmark episode, first ever live show on that website, and there's going to be tons more to come from, so make sure that you check that out. But again, thank you to Brad for coming on.
No worries. Always a pleasure.
And to the one half of the Mighty Whites podcast, Casey.
Always be good to be on with you guys.
Always fun.
And I'll tell you what, when Dan gets back as well, because he had his little holiday coming on again last week, and he's disappeared again, but I'm sure we'll see him again.
And I've been your host, Alex, as always. Make sure you check out everything on the website, and make sure that you come back. We'll go back to the regular for next week, so come back 7 p.m. GMT or 2 p.m. Eastern on Sunday for another episode of Stand Your Ground. But we'll see you next